As a real estate investor, you understand the importance of insuring your investment properties, but how confident are you that your locations are insured adequately? National Real Estate Insurance Group, also known as NRIG, is the nation's largest insurance program that focuses solely on serving real estate investors. NRIG's program makes insurance as easy as possible with monthly reporting, monthly billing, and coverage for all phases of occupancy. Visit nreig.com/iHeart to request a proposal.
WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, home of Southern Sports and Talk. Noonan, Sharpsburg, Franklin.
Hi, I'm Holly Reese. I'm the founder of Warrior Defenders. I'm a certified tactical self-defense instructor, and I specialize in women's self-defense. I teach technical drills for survival skills and education on self-defense tools and how to use them. My journey started in self-defense because I'm a domestic violence survivor. I'm here to empower women, to teach them how to be their own heroes, and to learn today to have a safer tomorrow.
This is Margie from Connecting Hearts Network. I'd like you to take just a moment and listen to Linda Kirkpatrick explain to you what Family Patterns Matters is all about.
Family Patterns Matter works with youth and their families to help overcome barriers that prevent their success. We meet twice a month with mentoring, tutoring, teaching life skills, resilience, gratitude, and kindness. We also bring music and art therapy. Please visit our website at www.familypatternsmatter.org.
Hello, I'm Pina Payne with Contour Mortgage, and we're so excited. We have just moved to this new company, and we are located at 560 Noonan Crossing Bypass in Noonan next to Art and Jake's, and we have some great products. Our interest rates are better than any other companies, and we also have some great products for the VA. We can do a better deal for you with fees than any other company. We have a lot of different kind of programs.
Shopping for insurance doesn't have to be stressful. I'm Christy, owner of Ellsworth Insurance, located here in Noonan, Georgia. We're an independent agency with access to multiple carriers for home, auto, life, health, and commercial insurance. We're your one-stop shop for your insurance needs. Visit our website at www.insurewithellsworth.com or call the office at 770-755-7053 to schedule an appointment. We look forward to meeting you soon.
Moving is a big decision. Selling or buying a home in any market, but especially today's, can raise a lot of questions. Hi, I'm Amy with Killingsworth Realty. My husband Todd and I serve the Coweta and local area. Our purpose at our first meeting is to learn your goals, answer questions, and provide resources so that you can make the best decision for you and your family. Find us online at killingsworthrealty.com or call 678-525-0047 to schedule a free consultation today to discuss your real estate needs. You don't have to do this alone.
The views and opinions of this show and program are not the views and opinions of this station, its management, or its clientele. It's now time for Heart to Heart Radio, presented by Connecting Hearts Network, connecting women to one another and resources. Now here's your host, Margie Conway.
Hi, I am Margie Conway, and this is Connecting Hearts Network broadcast. We have kind of like a tea talk all in Ryan's office today. We have Linda Gardner, Linda Kirkpatrick from Family Patterns Matters, and Lisa Gardner from Torn Pages. And if you haven't heard of that, we're going to make sure you know a lot more about it before the hour is over. But Linda is the one that has brought Lisa in, so I'm going to let Linda give you an introduction and tell you a little bit about their connection.
Okay, well, I met Lisa through a mutual friend, and I at once knew that I had to contact her, and we had to get to know each other, what I do with Family Patterns Matter and changing lives in children one at a time, and what they do with Torn Pages. And I'm going to introduce her so she can start talking, because I'm a talker. But here is Lisa Gardner with Torn Pages.
Thank you so much, sweetie. Well, I guess I should kind of give a little background. My husband, Jay Gardner, is actually the founder of Torn Pages. Jay and I met about 1.5 years ago. But Torn Pages actually was created in a prison cell. That's Jay's story. I'm not going to go into the whole story, but he spent 20 years in prison. And while he was incarcerated, God just gave him a vision. He saw another man in prison that had on a bead that had colors and things like that. And in prison, there are no colors. There are no gangs,
anything,
nothing like that. And so he asked the guy that was in the cell, and he's like, where'd you get the necklace, the beads? And he said, it's paper. So of course Jay was just like, oh my gosh, I've got to have this. So he gave him a bag of coffee for the bead. And the guy went on to tell him that it was made out of paper. And so that evening, actually, Jay had only been in prison several years out of his 20-year sentence. He said God just came upon his heart. And he said, son, do you know what you have? And he was like, it's beads. And he said, over and over, God, they kept having this conversation. He said, no, son. He said, yeah, they're made out of paper. He said, but it's a reflection of the torn pages in your life.
That's awesome,
and,
yeah.
Yes. And Jay said at that moment, all the torn pages, all the, things that the hurt he'd caused, family, himself, just different things, just all came welling up in him. And he knew right then, that would be what his ministry would be, that he would share Torn Pages, that only God can give us, a hope and a peace and a strength.
Right, and that's exactly what God does. He uses our weakest moments, our biggest moments of hurt, and He turns them around if we let Him. He doesn't insist we do it. He in our abuse awareness class, we teach He's a gentleman. He never makes us. He lets us make the choice, and He will take all of that and turn it around and redeem it.
Yes.
And this is a story of redemption if I've ever heard one. Yeah.
Absolutely, sweetie. So when Jay and I met, he's been out of prison now, a little over 6 years. And we actually met 1.5 years ago. I'm a realtor for almost 30 years. He owns a painting company. And so he had friended me on Facebook and wanted to talk about business. So we met for lunch one day.
Oh, wait a minute. You're leaving out a little bit of that story. You told us a little bit about the story beginning. Mm-hmm. You had lost your husband.
No, right. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I had been single for 4 years. I had been in a marriage that was addiction. It was really bad. So I had been single for several years, not looking for anybody.
Right.
Letting God help me find myself again. And I had already said, okay, Lord, I'm not looking for anybody. The next man in my life, you will send him to me. They will not choose me. So when I met Jay for lunch that day, and again, I'd been single for several years, and I'll never forget, we met at a Longhorn for lunch, and he walks in, and I thought, and he just has this contagious smile. He just,
right.
And so we sit down, and we start talking, and he starts telling me about himself, and as soon as he said, I was in prison for 20 years, and I just kind of, in my mind, was thinking, okay, Lord, you have a sense of humor. and I thought, okay, this guy cannot be, he can't be as good as what he seems. He spent 20 years in prison. But if you know the whole story, he never should have spent that kind of time. He never hurt anybody. The only person he hurt was, he hurt family from having been gone for 20 years. But he was the one who was really hurt and lost so much of his life.
Right.
Most people coming out of prison 20 years would have such resentment. And he did not. He took what he experienced and what God gave him in prison, and he's just on fire with it.
Right. Ryan, do we have that clip lined up? All right, we have a clip from it's which fish, the Fish Radio, where Jay won the Salt Shaker Award. So we want you to listen to this.
While in prison.
Right now, it's time to announce this week's Salt Shaker of the Week Award winner.
Each week we choose someone who's being the salt of the earth, like Matthew 5 says, and is really making a difference in their community. It could be an individual or a group. And today's winner is a really special guy that has touched our lives. His name is Gardner, and he is actually in prison. He listens to the fish every morning in prison from his cell. And he's
listening right now. Hey, Jay.
Yeah. Hey, Jay. And he is very talented. He's an artist. He makes these incredible necklaces out of strips of paper, like from a magazine, from anything recycled that he can get his hands on in prison. And they're beautiful. Like the one Kevin's holding right now is purple. And it looks like beads, but it's made out of pieces of paper that are wrapped really tightly.
Yeah, he sent us a first necklace. He calls them beads of reflection. He sent us the first one when he heard a story. There was someone on our show that was going through a tough time, and they told their story on the air, and he sent a whole bunch of them. He's like, would you please send these to that family? I would like for them to have these so they know that everything's going to be okay, that God loves them.
That is so sweet. And in the letter that he sent with us, with the beads, he said, thank you for letting me share hope. I want to make a difference outside my own little world here in prison. I just love his attitude. What a guy.
Yeah, well, he says that the story of the beads is he saw another inmate wearing them and told him they were made out of paper, and he told him how he made them, and he gave him some. He gave him they're almost like a necklace, these beads, and he says suddenly out of the blue at night in his cell, it was like God was telling him this keepsake was made with torn rips of paper. It's a reflection of the pages that have been torn and ripped in your life. But I can take the pages of your life and create something beautiful in my caring hands.
Wow.
Yeah, so he signs it. He put, my hope is that you'll find and feel God's healing grace and love in your beads of reflection. And he said, prayers and blessings from, he calls himself God's water boy, Jay Gardner. So that's why I was saying, I don't know that Sonny's Barbecue is going to be, that Jay is going to be able to take advantage of the Sonny's gift card. Jay, if you have somebody that you would like us to give the gift card to, we'll be more than happy to forward it to him. But we thought,
your family can enjoy it.
Here's a guy that is definitely not getting an attaboy or a spotlight on him or a pat on the back. And I don't even know what Jay did to get him in that circumstance. That I couldn't care less. The fact of the matter is God got a hold of his life in there and has totally turned him around. So Jay, we are really excited that you're this week's Salt Shaker of the Week award winner.
And that, recording talks about the difference God made in his life when he had him at a standstill spot. And God has to do that to a lot of us to get us to pay attention to him. So when you had lunch with him and he told you your story, let's pick up there. Where did it go from there?
Well, I was so intrigued, actually, about his story. And I thought, okay, I need to meet some of the people that he, his friends from previous before he went to prison. Was he always this kind of person? And yes, he was.
Okay.
Jay was actually, he was in the Navy. He was a top boxer, qualified for the Olympics. He was ordained into the ministry before he went to prison. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden, he said he felt like God just took his hands off of him. He got into drugs and alcohol, went on a little crime spree. That's what he went to prison for.
Right.
He, robbed a Cracker Barrel and a little small hotel.
Drugs and alcohol will do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And, never threatened anybody. And that there's so much more to that as far as the prison system. And so that year when he was actually sentenced was the year that they privatized prisons.
Right.
And they became $1 billion industry overnight.
Right.
So they wanted people in there for as long as they possibly could. The judge actually made a mistake on his ruling and tried to change it later but could not because he had already made the ruling.
Right.
Anyway, so, he did 20 years to the day.
Yeah.
And so, it's just it's been amazing. It's like when we met each other, and again, I wasn't looking for anybody, but God definitely sent me my soulmate.
Right.
We both have huge hearts. We have a passion for, just helping others and doing. And so with Torn Pages, a lot of people may not can comprehend what Torn Pages really stands for. They go, oh, yeah, it's just a bracelet. Well, no, it's not. No. The meaning behind Torn Pages applies to every one of us. Every one of us.
Right.
If people are real in their lives and honest, so many people cannot be. That's the one thing I love about Jay. He is so real. You can ask him anything. He's not afraid. But he wants what he went through to help others. And, you know, he had 17 more years to go when God gave him this vision.
And he was working, because I went and checked out the website. I checked out all the social media and everything, and she's right. He has that contagious smile and personality. And we'd love to get him on one day to share his part of the story. But I know from being in the family of someone that spent a lot of time incarcerated that the family has their own story to share. Yes. So, you know, that's why we were ready to bring you out here. And know you weren't family at that point, but it's I don't know if Linda shared it, but I grew up with my dad in and out of prison. My first thought when someone says the Lord got a hold of him in prison used to be like, what are you trying to get out of? Because that's what my dad would do. You know, I've told somebody last week, every time he got in trouble, he got saved again and carried us all to this off-the-wall church and went to court and said, oh, here's my sweet little family, I'm saved, and da-da-da-da-da, and it didn't ever last long. But I have since, met several people that God really did get a hold of them while they were there. And for a lot of them, especially when drugs and alcohol are involved, that's the only time they can get them clean and sober and quiet long enough to do so. Yeah.
It's, and Jay has, he has a wonderful family. I mean, I know all of them, met them all before we got married. And, of course, God wasn't a big part of his life growing up.
Right.
But, so, God, I mean, he transformed is what he did.
Right.
But Jay's heart, again, it's just huge. He's a Peter.
Yeah.
He's going to come in like a bull, and that's just who Jay is.
Right.
He has such a passion for people. Torn Pages, our goal for Torn Pages is to impact 100,000 lives this year. It's crazy, wonderful, the doors that God's opening with different organizations. But again, so the beads, they actually start in a prison cell.
Right.
We still actually have some men in prison that they don't make the bracelets, but we have rear view mirror hangers.
Right.
They actually still make those in prison for us.
Okay.
And gives them a little money to do, but right now we have 3 villages of women in Uganda.
I saw that.
Yes, that actually we give a livelihood to. We are their only income. It helps them. They support 130 of their kids and their grandchildren. It's just so beautiful.
Right.
Beautiful. And so we get to video with them, pick out, and it's literally paper. It's beautiful, what the talent that they have. So, but the message that comes with every bracelet is what the true gift is. And I'm just going to read it, okay? It just says, this is a gift for you. This keepsake was made by hand with torn and ripped pieces of paper, sealed in varnish. It's a reflection of the pages that have been torn and ripped in our lives. However, God can take the torn pages of our lives to create something beautiful in his caring hands, a hope, a peace, and a strength to prevail in life's journey. Well, if there's anybody listening that can honestly say they've never had torn pages or don't know of somebody that has torn pages and couldn't use just at least a glimpse of hope, peace, and strength, these Torn Pages is endorsed by numerous influential people.
Right, and I looked it up. First, Linda and I saw the bracelets through a mutual friend, and we were talking about how beautiful they were. Linda wanted to get them in for her kids. I think you wanted them for the fashion show, right?
Yeah.
All right, so then Linda reached out to Torn Pages? All right. And she came into the studio with a bag of bracelets. And I'm sitting there looking at them while she's talking about other stuff, and I took a picture, and we've been sharing that all over Facebook. But immediately, I had 3 friends, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one. Because people, they are beautiful bracelets. If you go look on tornpages.com, you'll see them. .org, I'm sorry. You'll see them, and then they're also on our social media platforms, mine and Linda's, because we've been sharing them. And we'll talk about how they do partnerships later. But some of the things that pulled me towards them is, first of all, any analogy that we can find to bring others to God is absolutely okay in my book. And that whole story about the torn pages, you guys out there have heard my story over and over and over. There's a lot of torn pages in that book that came from other people and from my own bad decisions. And when you look at these bracelets, like she's holding one in her hand that I'm very tempted to reach over and take out of her hand, because it's I love the colors in it. It's all black and white, and it's got the red beads on them, but they're purple. They're all the bright colors you see in the magazines. Mm-hmm. So the fact that they use the torn pages and then they shellac them, so you're thinking a paper bead, it wouldn't be endurable. It's very endurable, because I've seen that process many times. This one, and most of the ones we've had, has a cross down on them, and they are beautiful. But the story behind them is the other thing that makes them so beautiful, how he came to them and the message God gave him, and the fact that it is on the card for all of them, because the ones I have at the studio are on the card.
Can't get one without it.
Right. Here's some things I do like about it also. You partner with villages in Uganda. Mm-hmm. I have a couple of things in my studio that I get from Fair Trade that does that. Okay. So it enables those women that otherwise wouldn't have a way to support their families to be able to use their skills and do that. Yeah. So that is awesome right in itself. And then you sharing that some of the prisoners do it. That is just fantastic at that point. And you never know when you get the beads. I'm sure if you've got a lot of practice, you can tell what colors they're going to turn out to when you get there. But it's just the way they're put together. But you support, through Torn Pages, many different organizations.
Many.
Yeah,
yes.
I noticed you have this one. I know they're a supporter of Coweta Force here in Noonan. Mm-hmm. Linda has partnered with them, Family Patterns Matters, and they partner with nonprofits. Tell us how you partner with nonprofits with the bracelets.
Well, what we do is, you can't see it on the radio, but just like with Linda and her organization, when I've met with her, and what we do is we order additional cards, tags to go on the bracelets with your logo, whatever, or your QR code. That this is the easiest way to evangelize and to minister and to engage with somebody.
Right.
You can give people a Bible all day long.
They might not open it and read it.
Nothing's going to say they're going to open it. And one of our greatest, our biggest mission right now, truly is this is something that we say. How do we get the gift of godly principles back into our schools?
Right.
Our schools, our youth, we've all got grandchildren. It's so scary and sad when I think about what their future is like. Luckily, my grandbabies know the Lord. But the fact that, you can't take it into the schools, well, we've come up with a way, and Torn Pages is it. So we also are partnered up with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
That's good.
So, yes. So what we do is you can go to tornpages.org. We ask for sponsorship, to help us. And what we do is we have a Wear One, Share One program with the youth. Wherever, anywhere, your church, whoever wants to invite us. Okay. We get sponsorship to cover for the bracelets, and we give every youth 2 bracelets. One they have to wear, one they have to take back into school and share.
That's awesome.
So the kids are taking God back into school for us.
That's all, and that's the only way we're going to do it.
Yeah, we can't do it on our own. And listen, people, I'm 60. I love these.
Yeah.
My granddaughter is 10. She, my grandson's 7. They love these.
Right.
They know the story behind it. So many of our kids are so broken, but of course, we all like to put on that face, we're all good, we're good, we're good. Well, what better person for our young to share with than their own friends?
Right. Absolutely. And that's what we're trying to encourage. That's what Linda's trying to encourage. And when you say absolutely, you have to raise that microphone.
Well, I was just saying that because one of the main reasons that I wanted to partner with you, one thing is I do have a son that's a recovering addict.
Right.
He's very spiritual. He loves God, and I'm going to share these with him, and I'm going to give him one. He loves wearing jewelry. But I do have a question, and then I'll talk about my kids. They will take the story off of there, but hopefully they will read it first, correct?
Are you talking about the ones they have to share?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we always say, you know, again, every bracelet, I don't care how many bracelets, we have organizations that order 500, 1,000 at a time. There's always the Torn Pages tag with the gift. True gift is the message. So we always say, read the card first. You get it. We engage them, and we ask the kids, the youth, whoever, you know, please give this to somebody you know that's going through some torn pages, some hard times. You know, and almost everyone will say, yeah, I know somebody. I know.
Oh, yes.
I know who I'm going to give it to. Please make sure they read the card. You take the card off, and these are little clips that we have them on here with so that you don't have to take them, you know, rip them off. And you put this in your wallet, your purse, pocket, whatever. And when you're feeling down, you know, when you're feeling defeated and broken, just get this back out and read it.
And you know, at our church this Saturday or this Sunday night, we have what the preacher calls our soul winning card, and he was teaching people how to use it because we have Bible school coming up, and we did that. And that's why it's hard for youth a lot of the times to go out and express, even if they're firm believers. It's hard to go out and express. It's hard for adults to do that a lot of times. Yes. But if you can go up with this card and say, here, I've got a gift for you because I know that you're having a rough time. Absolutely. Look at this bracelet. I know you'll love it.
That's
read the card. Yeah.
What is this made out of? And people are intrigued. Absolutely. I mean, so first you engage them, you know, in this. By that time, they're sold. You know, they're like, oh my goodness, you know. So then if you notice, some of the bracelets do not have a cross on them. Right. We do that intentionally because.
Let me ask you something about that. Do you think? I know my son will wear one with a cross. Do you think it would be easier to give to young men without a cross or with a cross?
It really depends. I mean, truly, if you know somebody's not a believer, okay. Like if you go to our website, tornpages.org, there are videos on there. These bracelets are global. Right. They've been taken on mission trips, and our pastors will tell you, you know, we don't want the cross on them. We want the message and we want the bracelet, but without it, because that's the way for us to engage.
Well, that's what I was thinking with some of our kids and their families, because most of our kids do come from a family, grandparents raising grandchildren and single moms, but a lot of them don't go to church, and I don't want them, even though we want to bring Jesus into their hearts, we don't want to feel like we're pushing it down their throats, if that makes sense. Oh, absolutely. And our kids, I mean, they love the jewelry and bracelets. Oh, yes. And I haven't taken them to them yet. I'm going to wait and when your husband comes and you come, so they will hear the story, and it will mean more to them, because when they hear how it came about, they'll say, "Wow!" You know, and they'll instantly want it. And I know several kids right now that I want to have that bracelet because I know they're going through tough times. We want them all to have them.
Oh, absolutely.
We want. I'm telling you, that is our vision. That, you know, this be a movement. Torn Pages become a household name.
Right. Well, we're going to do the best we can to contribute towards that. Right.
Yeah. My granddaughter is doing marketing for us. That's her major. She's going to be. She's going to be graduating next year, but she's a Christian, and I mean, her heart is full. I'm going to give her some of these to take back to school with her, because she's going at Samford University in Alabama, and I know when she's already posted this on our site, but she really didn't know the meaning behind it, and I want to let her know that.
Right. And can I just say this? It is so it's pretty interesting. You know, we do a lot of different shows, and people, want Jay to come in and speak, and it's just amazing. But for some people, as soon as you say, it's made out of paper, and they go, oh yeah, we know, we've seen beads made out of paper. Well, these are not just any, and yes, there are people all over the world who can make paper beads. Right. But the story behind this absolutely is what makes Torn Pages different and stand out.
Well, and and you're talking about the card, is when I was talking about some of the things I have from women, I think the ones that's in my shop are from Kenya. And it has a card because I have soapstone hearts that are carved and different things going on. And there is a card that explains the story behind why they do the hearts the way they do. And everybody wants that card with their heart because of the story behind it. It makes it more meaningful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and again, this gift, so kind of what we do, like with yourself, Linda, of course these cost.
Right.
And I will say this. Our women in Uganda are absolutely amazing. A lot of organizations take advantage of these different villages, such advantage of them. We do not, okay? We want quality, and we want them to be proud of what they're doing. And we literally are their only livelihood.
Right.
So people ask us all the time, well, what's Torn Pages doing? Well, we do a lot. It's doing a lot. You may not see it or think it, but trust me when I say it is.
Well, I looked. It's supporting the villages in Kenya. It's supporting programs to help men and women come out of prison, and it said find their passions in life and to move forward. And I can tell you myself what a big deal that is because... and I can tell you how, with his story of him being in prison and having this come, I had never shared about my dad to hardly anybody, but I was teaching middle school, and we had some kids come through whose dad had gone to jail, and we had another set whose parents had drug addictions. So I shared my story of growing up with them, and they were unbelievable because, God's put my life back together and redeemed it. And I was able to say, here's what he did to get me through that to where I'm at today. So looking at what has happened with Jay from where he was to where he is today is the story and the miracle behind that. And the kids need to see that because some of the ones that Linda has, a whole lot of them in the school and stuff, they don't talk about what goes on behind closed doors. And, just like us adults don't. I kept mine secret till I was 50, and now I'm putting it on the radio. So it's everywhere. And somebody even said something the other day. They said, I heard you on the radio. I couldn't, I never would have thought you would have gotten on the radio and shared all that. And I'm like, God has done such a healing in me that I have to share it. And I have found when I stopped holding it in and started sharing it is when it started benefiting other people and turning it to good, which makes the whole thing worth it. So you guys, you do the Women in Uganda. You have the program that supports the ones who've been incarcerated coming out.
Yes, and that's in process.
Right.
There's a lot of...
There's a lot to it.
Yeah, lots to that. But
yeah.
But the main way that Torn Pages touches lives is through other organizations.
Right.
That's why we partner up with other nonprofits.
Right.
Okay. And what we do a lot of times is, we do them on consignment.
Like Linda's, yeah.
Right. And it doesn't even matter the amount, whatever
Right.
number you need. You just have to remember these are all individually made from our ladies in Uganda. It takes, 3 weeks for them to make, or a month for them to make, let's say 1,000 bracelets. But they're just gorgeous.
Right.
But that gives organizations a means to be able to use, share.
Well, she's getting the story to share with her kids.
Right.
And with anybody. Linda, I promise you, Linda talks to everybody.
Right.
And Ryan can attest because they go to church together. Linda talks to everybody because people will say something. I was like, she is the number one person I have promoting this website. And so it does that. But
it does not matter where you're at.
Absolutely.
Listen, we go, I'm telling you, lunch. Jay can be on a job, with his guys, or I can be wherever. You can share this gift of hope, peace, and strength anywhere, anytime.
And people need
They love
that.
it. And listen, the number of people who will, at that moment, I cannot even tell you, will just start crying.
Yes.
When they read the message. And because...
It
people
resonates
can't be
with
real.
everyone.
People aren't real anymore.
Right.
People are afraid to be real.
Right.
But you know what? That's what we need to be. We've all got stories.
Yes.
You know, Jay's story is amazing, but you know what? We all have our own amazing stories. And you may not even realize the person that you're with every day, working with, or you see at a restaurant, whatever.
Right.
I cannot even tell you just how it warms my heart every time we're somewhere and we share this bracelet with somebody, and they just all of a sudden they start crying, or they say, I can't even tell you how much this means to me right now, and then they start telling their story.
Oh yes.
So
a lot of times they just need to open up. They need
That's
somebody
right.
that will listen.
Yes,
right.
Yes. So
and so it reaches in a number of ways, but it's also helping Family Patterns Matters and the other organization raise funds for their activities.
What I love about it is we can share it with our single mothers.
Yes.
With our grandparents that are raising grandchildren, because we know they have a lot of torn pages, because they wouldn't be alone raising their children. The grandparents wouldn't be raising their grandchildren if there wasn't something there. And I can see it in their eyes.
Right.
You know, when they come, and then it's very hard also to get to some of them because they don't want to discuss what's happened, and we just silently say, you know, we're here for you, and their kids. It'll come out when you build trust. But a lot of kids just don't trust anybody.
Well, it's like I've said before. You know, there's some country song, and it's about a breakup. It's Miranda Lambert says her mama heard from all the beauty bodies in the town and told her to wash her face and put her makeup on, and we don't act crazy, hide your crazy, and every time that song comes on, I think of my grandmother, because my grandmother, she was my dad's mom, and my dad was in trouble all the time, and I know her story. She felt guilty because she abandoned him and then came back and all kinds of stuff, but she was like that. I mean, she held pretty powered jobs in downtown Atlanta, and she made connections and everything, primarily to try to keep him out of trouble. But she was like that. We did not go about and tell what went on in our house. We put that makeup on and put it under the rug. And so if you had asked me in 2015, did I know anything about adoption? I was like, oh no, I don't even want to talk about that. You know, it's somebody else's story. I'm busy. I got to go. But by the end of 2016, I was telling everybody, hey, when I was a teenager, I put 2 babies up for adoption. And so we're good at putting a mask on and hiding what's going on under that. And one of our things we talk about in the studio with the women that's been through, with all the women, because some of the women that come in there have really been through things that most people wouldn't understand. But it's like you never know what's going on with the person next to you. You don't know what kind of day they've had. You don't know what kind of life they've had. You don't know what they're dealing with. So just give them a little bit of grace underneath that as you do it. And God's been working on me, because I thought I was like, you know, the princess of grace. But I still had my hang-ups. And a lot of my hang-ups were around people in recovery, because I never trusted my dad, so I didn't know if I could. And since January, he's been working on me so that I understand recovery better, and we have a family member that goes through it, and it's helped our family personally, but it's helped me reach out, because honestly, 2015, if you'd said I want somebody to come on the show and the husband had been in jail for 20 years, I was like, I'm not doing that. and it's so, you know, we mature and we grow, but we need to learn from other people's stories, and everything that we've gone through can completely be redeemed. I mean, even to nicknames. A person who molested me when I was a child called me Margarine. He was a chef, and I had kind of closed that off and didn't think anything about it. And one day at church, this loud, bold woman who was new to the church walked down the center aisle after church. Margarine, wait a minute. And my immediate thought was, who is that woman? I don't like her. Why is she calling me that? And within 2 months, that one was one of my best friends. I loved her. We started the widows group. God will redeem even those small things, such as your nickname, if you turn it over to him and you let him do it. So with Jay, he got that call when he was in prison. We've heard from the radio that he started reaching out with these things. And then after he got out, you connected with him at Longhorn. So let's go back a little bit to how you got so connected to him. You married him in February.
I know.
So share your thought processes and how that worked.
Honestly, sweetie, I think it was that God did just exactly what I prayed for.
Yeah.
He sent me my soulmate.
Yeah.
Jay and I both had to go through all the torn pages in our lives to be together. And, marriages, abuse, being in prison, And I can say, honestly, if I had met Jay prior to him going to prison, we may not have even connected.
Oh, right.
Because he was, that kind of person that, I probably didn't want to be around, even though I wound up marrying those kind of people.
Oh, yes.
Because I'm a fix-it person.
Oh, absolutely.
So, while being single, I was like, okay, Lord, let me fix myself. I have beautiful family, like I said, realtor, blah, blah, blah. But God just gave me that. I have so much support, and what's so wonderful is Jay does too. Good. He has amazing parents that all through prison, I love them. They're all just precious. I come from a wonderful family too. I'm not saying there weren't always, problems. Of course, there always were.
Oh, right.
In any family, but who are we to judge? And that's what I kept saying to myself when I met him. I was like, okay, Lisa. It was like I was looking for something that was going to be wrong with him. You know, this can't be, this can't be, he can't be this good. And then, don't get me wrong, anybody that spends 20 years in prison, you've got, there are things.
We all have baggage from
Well, of
everything.
course. I didn't, I was in prison, but not behind a cell. I was in prison in my life.
Right.
In a relationship. Okay. So to me, I say the same thing. I was imprisoned. We're all imprisoned somehow.
Right.
Okay. But if people would just be real, and so that's what I loved about it. He's real. Jay has no problem telling you not one thing about his life, not one thing. He also has no problem, a lot of people call him for help because they know the kind of person he is. He also has no problem in putting them in their place. He knows the game.
Right.
So it makes it, he's sincere, but he's a bear. He's going to be a bull in a china shop.
Well, he can't really help, chair squeak. He can't really help people if he doesn't have a balance of love and justice and mercy.
Oh, absolutely.
At the same time.
Listen, Jay's compassion for other people, I've always had a huge heart, but I thought I did until I met Jay. So now together, it's just wonderful. We have a beautiful life. It's amazing. We've been married. We just got married February the 11th of this year. We've known each other a year and a half. It just was like instantly.
I saw it. Looks like things has expanded a lot since then. You went to the conference in Warner Robins. I saw
we got
that.
several conferences.
Right.
Torn Pages is like I said, it's endorsed by so many influential companies, people, and that's what it's about. It's not really about. It is Jay's story,
right?
But it's all of our stories.
Yeah. It is, yes.
And that's what we want people to see. It is not just Jay's story.
Right.
And Jay's funny, he doesn't like to make it about his story. But that is where the vision came from.
Right.
And, God's the only, thank God for that. And Jay will tell you today, he wouldn't change those 20 years in prison for anything.
And we get to that point. I remember times in life where I felt like I had more than my share of somebody's story. But I actually was sitting in the office with my pastor last week catching up, and I told him, I would not trade one single second. That would mean I would not be right where I am now. Right. It is just beautiful the way God redeems things, the way He puts people together, the way that He will take what could be a disaster story and turn it around to make it beautiful. He can use anything that we give to Him to use.
And have you seen the video on the website of Pastor Frank Cox as he's endorsing? He was actually previous president of the Southern Baptist Convention.
Right.
He was the one who actually ordained Jay 30 years ago before he went into prison.
Okay.
They actually are scheduled for lunch today. They're still connected, but his endorsement of Jay and Torn Pages is just incredible. It just says it. It just tells it. But the bottom line is this: who are any of us?
You're right.
To judge somebody else?
You're right.
Jay spent 20 years in prison. He never hurt anybody. He never had a gun. He never, but people automatically want to, and I have to say, when I first met him, I thought the same thing. 20 years in prison, but Jay opens up life as a reality for me.
Right.
He's so real. Just truth. He just, and he says pride. Pride is the number one thing that prevents all of us from moving forward.
And I agree completely with that.
And he said, we have to put our pride aside. I may not have ever been to prison, but, there are things I've done in my life that I'm not proud of.
Oh.
You know what? But I don't answer to anybody but God about
That's
that.
it.
People are going to judge you. It does not matter. But this right here, and people question, it's funny. We hear all kinds of stuff, you're just trying to make money. You're just trying to do this. No, well, it takes any organization,
right,
nonprofit, whatever. Trust me, we put more money into this than what comes from it.
Right.
And that's not what this is about. But in order for us to succeed and do what we want to do, which is spreading as much hope, peace, and strength as we can, we need supporters.
Right.
We need contributors. It's a legitimate company, nonprofit. And trust me, there are people out there who have no problem, and they just jump right on board because they see it.
Right. And I love, you were talking about it becoming a movement, not just a product or a small ministry, but becoming a movement. It is a movement for people to, get a bracelet that has a specific charm or some words or something on it, and then pass it along as they go through. So I love the way that you're doing
wear one, share one.
I love that.
Yes.
I think that will reach a lot of kids, and I already got a whole bunch of people
and adults
in mind.
too. For all of us,
absolutely.
It's just like I said, it's easy. It is so easy. It's the easiest evangelistic tool out there to engage with somebody.
Absolutely. And I think our kids, the trauma and things that have happened to them, and they don't want to talk about it. When they see this and we talk about the meaning of this, I think they're going to say, I get it. Because I always tell them, you're going to learn from everything that happens to you and how you react to it and how you move forward. Because I tell everybody, I'm here because God had a plan for me.
That's right.
Right.
And this is. I know. I'm sorry. I don't hold it up to my mouth.
She's saying good things, though, people.
But, and God has a plan for everyone. He made each and every one of us. He knew us before we were even in the womb. And we have to remind people, put your love and your faith in God. Right. And He's going to guide you. And teaching this to our kids, we have to be careful in how we do it because their parents may not want it.
Right.
So this is a way for us to do it with them and also with their parents. And I'm excited about it, and that's why I contacted you. I thought, how awesome is this? That's God, beautiful. You brought somebody else into my life, and I'm loving it. Yes.
Well, and with the bracelets, as I was talking about what the pastor said the other night, with the bracelets and things, she's putting it on my wrist, y'all. I'm keeping it. It's with the bracelets. And you passing that out, if you're like me, you're going to pray before you go out anyway. God, let me reach somebody for you today. And so that bracelet's going to be prayed over. And it tells the torn pages right in there. It tells you, it has God on the ticket. It tells you. And I have such confidence that God says His word does not return void. So anything that we put out to glorify Him will take seed and plant. You might not ever see it, but with those children, with the ones that's moved through our group, with all the people that's being impacted from this, you don't see it, until you get to heaven one day. But it will impact people because God makes that promise to us that it will. We just have to step out and do it.
Wow. Yeah, one day.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful because we've been to several big conventions and things like that. And, the thing that most of your evangelistic, preachers, they're like, you have to go out. You've got to go out, send your people out. Well, there are a lot of people out there, believers, Christians, in church, they're fine, but they don't know how to go out and evangelize.
Right.
You know, I mean, and for a lot of people, it's just not an easy thing.
Right.
Well, this, I'm telling you, the churches, you know, they use these, and it makes it so easy.
Right.
You know,
and it is.
It's not
really
like you don't have a stack of Bibles. Like, again, you know, nobody is going to force somebody to open a Bible and read it. But they're wearing something on their wrist, and when they look at it, they relate to, these are the torn pages of my life that God, look what God can do in my life.
And I've noticed that Lisa's is matching her pretty blouse that she has on. So she has a never-ending supply of beautiful jewelry, because it is beautiful jewelry. We are going to post the links and everything for it and see how we can get more involved in spreading the message around, because it is beautiful. Yes. Now, I know he's coming to talk with the kids in Family Patterns Matter. Do you have a date for that?
No, we do not have a date.
Okay.
I'm going to be talking with them and seeing when they can come. We're going to be doing Money Matters.
Right.
Like this summer, and I don't know how long that's going to take, maybe three of the weeks, but we definitely want them to come, and we want them to come hopefully before school starts, or maybe at the beginning of school, because they need it, because a lot of our kids get bullied.
Yeah.
A lot of them become isolated.
Right.
A lot of them think about suicide, and a lot of them have parents in prison. A lot of them have addicts as parents that they're living with, and we want to get this message to them that, hey, I've got this bracelet, and it gives me what I need, and God is here with me. Yes, and that's why I'm so excited about this partnership. I'm just...
We are too, sweetie. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
And anybody... any organization, anybody that's listening, it doesn't have to be a big organization. I mean, it's your church, your school, whatever. It does not matter. Torn Pages can help you help others.
Well, we are very small, but we're powerful.
That's right. And that's what, one person, one at a time, that's all it takes.
Yes, that's our motto.
Yes.
Changing one life at a time.
Yeah. Well, and I know the things, we have put a lot of emphasis on reaching the kids and on your kids.
Everything.
Well, that's what I was going to say. We've put a lot of emphasis on that, but everything that you just said about the kids is true of adults.
Yes,
there are so many hurting people in this world, and even people who have a faith background, who knows Jesus, who has been saved, have been hurt. And it's buried, and they don't know. And I know when I went through all of mine and I came out of it, somebody was telling me, she said, I don't understand how you made it through that breakdown that I was in. And I'm like, well, God brought me completely out of it. He did the healing. I was like, and I know you. I know that you have the tools to do it too. You just have to uncover them. So this can start someone's journey of uncovering them and taking those pages and doing something beautiful with it.
Well, can I say one more thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Something that I grew up in church with my grandparents. Something that I've noticed more and more about our churches, and of course, church is a business anymore.
Yeah.
But a lot of the churches, and some will take this the wrong way, I apologize, but it's a reality.
It's true.
More churches are worried about bringing people to the church.
Right.
In the church, it's the building and
the
budget.
Numbers,
building and the budget. Well, what Torn Pages, what we want to do is we want the church. We're taking the church to people.
And that's what we're supposed to do. That's exactly what we're supposed to do.
People can hide behind. They walk into a church. People aren't really even talking to each other. You're not sharing your Torn Pages. So, to us, it just, it's just a different type of.
Well, we are to be the church.
Right.
I mean, that is our commandment, is we are to be the church.
Right.
The church is not a building. The church is the people.
That's right.
And so we are to go out reaching one another. That's the Great Commission that we've all been given. We learned that when we're little kids in Sunday school. Go ye therefore into all the world.
Right.
And so this is a tool that will help you do that. You can be as shy as anything. You can wear a bracelet and share the message on the card. You can hand them another bracelet. So we're going to encourage you to wear one and share one. So we're going to put that up, and we will let you know how to reach Torn Pages and how to get a hold of them. tornpages.org. They have Facebook. They have some good videos on there. You need to go watch them. There should be is there a calendar on there that tells where he's going to be? Or?
No, not on there.
Okay.
But anybody who would like for Jay to come and share a story to help others, just reach out to us. We will do our best to make it happen.
Yeah, because I really want to get to know him better and hear his story.
Well, I was just thinking when you said that, and I'll make this quick, why not, instead of just coming to speak to the children, bring the children and their families and anyone else in the community? Yes. You know, I mean, we'll have to...
I can help with that.
Yeah, we're going to have to brainstorm that and make that happen because, you know, God is moving in our country, even though a lot of us don't think it or see it, but He is, and people need to come back to Him.
They do.
Right. Yeah. And that's the only way you're going to make it through anything, people, is if you give God the steering wheel and let Him drive and let Him make it. They are.
We see it already with Torn Pages.
Right.
People have their own, ideas and comments and things, but you know what? It's okay. Do I want to be seen as what God wants me to be doing, or what man wants to see?
Right.
Okay.
And I'll say God all day long, every day. Yeah.
Right.
So we're going to thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it. We are going to share all these links. We'll be sharing what comes up with them and how to get a hold of them. We'll share where Linda was talking about maybe we could do a community event instead just the children. We'll work on that.
You ladies are amazing too in what you do.
I just thank you. Well, I was willing, even though I didn't know I was, when God kicked me out of that back room and made me go talk to Brian. But it is
Ryan's amazing.
It has been life-changing for me. So it's if you just take whatever it is that is hurting you and that's deep in your heart and just open your hands and let God take it, He will turn it into something beautiful.
Timing.
Yes, He will.
Even at 60 years old.
Yeah, well, He does that a lot of times, I've noticed. All right, so I want to thank you for listening this week. We really appreciate having Linda and Lisa here, and we appreciate Ryan jumping in at the last minute because I do that to him a lot, y'all. And he handles it like a champ. So thanks for listening, and we will talk to you again later.
You have been tuned in to Heart to Heart Radio, presented by Connecting Hearts Network, connecting women to resources and one another. Located at 3 Bullsboro Drive here in Noonan. Tune in next week for another episode of Heart to Heart Radio with Margie Conway.
Escape the crowds in Martin County, one of South Florida's best-kept secrets. Discover beautiful, uncrowded beaches, picturesque parks, scenic drives, enjoy stylish shopping and dining to match. From waterfront views to alfresco dining, art galleries to cozy cafes, delightful shops and charming attractions. Visit discovermartin.com for more information and to find out why this hidden gem is your next must-visit destination. Visit discovermartin.com. That's discovermartin.com. Paid for by Martin County Office of Tourism.
Healthcare is about more than treating illness. It's about caring for the whole health of the person. CareSource ensures members have resources to overcome obstacles. CareSource, caring for the whole health of Georgia. Visit wholehealthofgeorgia.com to learn more.